Okay, good morning all and welcome again to another Cleanaway Investor Series presentation. Today's presentation will be on our Victorian Commingled Resource Recovery business and data analytics and process automation. The format will be the same as prior presentations, where we'll run through a prepared presentation and then open the line for Q&A. At that time, if you wish to ask a question, please raise your hand or use the chat function. Today's presenters will be Vic Bansal, CEO and Managing Director of Cleanaway, Mark Crawford, our Executive General Manager of the Solid Waste Service businesses, and Alex Smith, our Head of Commercial. Brendan Gill, our CFO, will also be on the line. Without further ado, I'll pass over to Vic to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Richie, and good morning, everybody. Appreciate you joining us in our Investor Series presser. You'll hear directly from two of our very effective leaders. Let me then, I assume the disclaimer is being read. I'll go straight into slide 4, which is just introducing Cleanaway. So I'm not expecting to spend too much time on presenting my slides. They are just more of an introduction, which most of you who have been following Cleanaway story for a while would know. Australia's leading total waste management company is market leader in all solid waste services, liquids, and hazardous and industrial waste services. 6,000 plus employees. You can see these stats on this page. It's a vertically integrated business. You know, we have talked a lot about being vertically integrated, which basically means have a complete set of assets and ability to on collection side, resource recovery side, and the post-collection side. And more importantly, diversified across all sectors of the economy, from muni, commercial, residential, commercial, industrial, residential, mining, manufacturing, health, and that's what makes us what the company is. If you take it to the next slide, which is slide 5, please. Again, as you know, we've always talked about us being a GDP-linked stock. 85% of our customer base is contracted, and that cuts across all sectors. In solid waste services, you have an average contract, muni contracts of 7 to 10 years, C&I 3+ years, and muni, we have 3 different types of contracts: is collection, could be resource recovery, and post-collections. And Mark is going to talk about the resource recovery element as it aligns to VCRR, which used to be SKM. In industrial waste services, typical customers are infrastructure and resources. Could be anything contract from 1.5 years to 2 years, and resources could be 3 to 5 to 7 years, depending on the kind of work we are doing. And liquid waste and health, similar characteristics to C&I, especially liquids and hydrocarbons, 1 to 3 years. But more importantly, in health services, it is 3 to 5 years. So we would be servicing practically majority of the hospitals all over the country, both for clinical and anatomical waste, combining that with the post-collection assets we have. So as I said to you before, 85% of customer base of Cleanaway is contracted, and that gives us the defensive and the resilience of the company, which you have seen us as a management team delivering over the last 4 or 5 years. If you go to slide 6, this is the value creation story. I don't expect to go through in details with you. I know it's very busy. I apologize for that. But that has been taken away from our ESG sustainability book, which we released this year. And what I'm really proud is that our ESG story, which is external to us, is 100% linked to what we do internally. Behind me, you see Cleanaway Way. Behind Mark and Brendan, you see a round circle, which is what we call Cleanaway Way. And it has 4 and a half or 5 strategic pillars, which is people, earth, market, assets, and finance. We call them PMAF. That is how we run the organization, and everything we do has a scorecard, a measurement, a strategic vision for each one of those. And we also know what our business model, our operating model, uses that as input, those strategic pillars, and then create a sustainable value for each one of those pillars back again, for people, earth, market, assets, and finance. And that is what our Cleanaway value creation story is. And we have been consistently showing you results on all that front, and I'll show you people results again today. And that is what we're trying to do. Now, the value creation story, it is linked to also linked with UN Sustainable Goals. I've always believed that this is a process of perfection, and I don't believe any companies ever get there, but we believe we have a very, very good pathway, very good story to tell, and we'll continue to perfect it and make it better every single year. If you go to the next slide, which is people and culture metrics, which some of you would have seen it before. And it's an important slide. I mean, people being the first pillar of our PMAF. This has been internal metrics in the company for the last 4 or 5 years. We've started to bring it out openly. Safety has always been part of our presentation. You can see over 5 years, we have a 16.1 CAGR average reduction, while the employees have almost practically doubled in 5 years. At the same time, you can see the turnover on the second slide. And right now it's even lower than where it sits at FY20 run rate, while the employees are 6,000. Remember, 70% of our workforce is blue collar. And so in that context, we believe that's the right number, and we can obviously keep perfecting that forward. Every year we do employee engagement score, and we are proud to say again in FY20, we had an 86. It's a voluntary employee engagement score done by a third party in conjunction with our HR teams. 86% participated. And I wanted to remind again that our company is diversified through 250 depots all over the country with 70% blue collar workforce, and it's a voluntary engagement score, and we get 86% participation. This year, our engagement score was 64%, and we presented that a couple of months ago where we showed that is above average Aussie percentile. We are only about a couple of basis points away from a top quartile employer in the country, and that's what we are aiming to do over the next couple of years. So very proud about that. And female participation, we clearly have a lot of work to do. As you can see, among operations and management and overall, we believe we can do better, and that's the aim, that over the next couple of years, that progress will carry on. Employee tenure, as you can see, average tenure for the overall company is 5.5 years. Now, I just want to remind, for 6,000 employees, an average tenure of 5.5 years is quite a good tenure. The general managers, which run our business units, about 11.8, and my direct reports about 4.6 years. So it's a good mix of young and experience in the organization with a good engagement score. Clearly, got a little bit more work to do on the diversity and the female participation, healthy turnover, and an improving safety record, while we are doubling the workforce and giving good financial returns. So just want to build the base on that. Next slide, again, you would have seen it before. This is about delivering Footprint 2025. This is about value chain, from collection, resource recovery, energy from waste, treatment, and disposal. We have been very transparent from day one of what we are doing where. And you can see some of the additions here around, waste to energy, potential Brisbane Melbourne energy from waste, glass beneficiation, plastic pelletizer. Mark is going to talk about. We won the Blacktown MRF recently, so that will be Western Sydney MRF we talk about here. So it is our framework on what we have developed our strategy on, and across every single element as we progress, either organically or acquisition, we put it out here. Some have, as you can see, some significant portions already been done, and obviously work carries on. In light of that, if you go to next slide, in November 2019, if you remember, post National China Sword and SKM, the largest resource recovery company in Melbourne, went under. We participated in that process. And with that, we acquired a fairly good assets, I believe at a very good price. And we got a market leadership position in one go in Victoria and Tassie, with some assets in Adelaide. And I wanted to know that everything we promised at that time, everything we promised about volume, about profitability, of how we're going to do it and what we're going to do it, we have done that. And that's what Mark is now going to talk about in Victoria. So over to you, Mark.
Terrific. Thank you, Vic. And good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay there, Vic? Yep.
Yeah, we can. Thank
you. Good morning, everyone. Mark Crawford's my name. I'm the EGM for Solids, as Richie introduced. I've been with the company 6 years now, and I've got the privilege of looking after the solid waste services side of the business. Today, I'm going to walk you through our Victorian Commingled Resource Recovery facility, and previously known as SKM, which we acquired just on 12 months ago. So it's pretty timely to give you somewhat of an update today. So this particular slide provides a bit of an overview of the timeline in terms of what we've done since we've acquired the assets of SKM and what we're looking to do going forward. I'll explore the key items or milestones as we progress through the presentation, and I'm sure by the end you'll have a much better understanding of A, what we've done, and B, what we're planning to do. In summary, we acquired a really good set of assets that have great potential. We've worked really hard to bring them up to standard so they can deliver the operational and financial outcomes that we're seeking and that we've communicated previously. We have been operating about 200,000 tonne per annum capacity since the start of this financial year, and we continue to bed down our operating procedures to ensure we're getting high quality output at the current throughput rates. We'll look to increase throughput rates once the fine tuning of operations is complete, and I'll give you some more detail on that in a minute. And after that, we expect to increase the throughput to about 250,000 tonne per annum. In terms of financial performance, we continue to expect, a $6 to $8 million EBITDA contribution in FY21 from these assets. So if I can just move to the next one, please, Richie. So to give you a bit of context about where these assets are located, you can see there that we've got really good coverage around the state in terms of up north in Laverton, Geelong, which is a really important strategic location for us, Coolaroo, and I'll go into some detail about these in a minute, and Hallam. So really important strategic assets, good coverage across the metropolitan area, and really do complement our existing assets as well. If I can take you to the next one, please, Richie. So perhaps just to give you some insight about where this facility's come from, you can see on the picture on the left-hand side there what the facility looked like when we acquired it 12 months ago. It'd be fair to say we've undertaken some fairly major site remediation and equipment overhaul. In fact, underneath one of those piles on the left-hand side there, we actually found a piece of yellow gear, which I don't know if anyone knew it was there, but when we cleared the floor, we found a piece of yellow gear underneath that stockpile. So we've worked really hard at getting that facility, in terms of that state on the left-hand side to what you're seeing on the right-hand side. And I'll just walk through some of what the integration has looked like. So in terms from a people perspective, and I'll talk a little bit about the PMAF that Vic referenced earlier, from a people perspective, we signed employment contracts with all the employees. We onboarded them, including pre-employment screening, as we would normally do for any of our employees. We determined and implemented relevant organisation structure that was set the facility up for success. We importantly embedded our HSE, our health and safety culture, and trained employees around our expectations and our safety procedures. And we rolled out our Cleanaway policies and processes. So and very early on, we also, of course, rolled out all of the branding and the PPE as well. From a market perspective, we removed the stockpiles, which were around the state, and that was a pretty significant activity in its own right. We staged our volume intake to determine contamination level, which is obviously very key to a facility like this. We established gate rate fees and secured volume intake from a number of councils. We developed municipal reporting, which was very important for our council partners in sharing with them, the volumes and the contamination levels so that they could educate and influence their citizens around what goes into that yellow bin. We established purity levels for saleable commodities, and of course, these facilities only work if you can extract good quality product and that's marketable and saleable. So we absolutely were focused on the purity levels, and we're in the process of securing outlets for glass material and at the moment, which I'll go into a little bit more detail in a minute. From an asset perspective, we undertook repairs and maintenance and urgent CapEx requirements. So we have invested in this facility in terms of bringing up the technology for optical sorters and processing capability. And if you looked at those pictures up in the top left, you can imagine there was a bit of R&M required, and we've undertaken that work now. We've made the sites operational and optimised the layouts, and we've updated the signage and branding, as you can see on that picture as well. We have explored glass beneficiation infrastructure, and we've progressed sales of the South Australian properties as well, which were on the previous slide. And finally, from a financials perspective, we've migrated the SKM operation across to the Cleanaway systems. We've transferred the IT infrastructure. We've implemented Cleanaway reporting. So I meet on a weekly basis personally with the leadership team in Victoria to monitor the progress of the integration and indeed the optimisation of that facility. We've put clear delegated levels of authority in place, and we've got detailed budgeting and systems mapping established as well, so that we can ensure that we are achieving what we think the facility is capable of achieving. So I want to just perhaps take you through a little bit about what the process looks like. And again, I know you've got a copy of this, you can read it in your own time, but just to give you some sense, we've really worked hard at improving the processing technology in order to deliver the outputs and high purity. As I mentioned earlier, this facility relies on getting good quality output, and so we've invested in state-of-the-art technology there to enable us to do that, and that ensures that we meet relevant thresholds for sales into the commodity markets and achieve those purity levels. For those that might not be familiar with the MRF sorting process, the slide here just gives you a bit of a high-level illustration of the process, which can vary, from MRF to MRF based on the technology input. But these facilities are now set up and operating really well. Okay, in terms of managing contamination, including contamination fees, just to give you some sense here about what we're doing. Contamination is the evil of any of these types of facilities, so it's clearly a major issue for us that we want to manage. We're managing it very diligently and ensuring the financial penalties are appropriately applied for unacceptable contamination levels. And so any of our arrangements where contamination is greater than 10%, we have a penalty regime in place. And because it's important to understand that not only does contamination create financial burden, it also has significant health and safety issues that we need to carefully manage as well. I think you would all be staggered by what goes into these bins. We are constantly, education becomes an ongoing challenge in this space, and we work really closely with the councils, particularly if there is high levels of contamination, to help educate their citizens and influence what goes into those yellow bins. But be fair to say, we continuously get surprised by some of the contamination that occurs. In saying that, our technologies are able to pull that out pretty simply and easily and get us to a good pure product at the end of the day. Okay, if I take us to the next one, please, Richie. So in terms of further commingled waste opportunities, so from a total market perspective, we're looking to ramp up our throughput once our operations are finally tuned. I mean, we're now sort of 9 months into the journey around the SKM integration, so we're well down that path. So our goal is, once we've absolutely put all the fine tuning in place around this facility, it's to work out how we can grow. There is a large addressable market for curbside commingled waste that we will target. At present, we're predominantly processing municipal waste. We have commenced to bring in some commercial tonnes, but we'll look to expand that significantly over the next period of time. As a consequence of processing mostly municipal waste, we end up processing about 50% of Victoria's curbside plastic waste, and that's an important introduction to my next slide. So these plastic wastes need to be sorted into individual polymers to be ready for recycling. Our plastics sorting facility at Laverton plays an important role in this part of the value chain. And what happens, sorted individual polymers are more valuable and saleable than baled mixed plastics. There was a bit of a problem in the market there a few months back around shifting mixed plastics, so we're actually right in the prime spot in being able to segregate these plastics into the different polymers and effectively provide a clean source of raw materials for value chain extension opportunities that we're looking to pursue, and I'll perhaps expand on that just in a minute. Just the next one, if I can, Richie. So we have highlighted the PET plastic palletising facility that we are developing with Pact and Asahi Beverages many times, so that, listen, I won't go into that in great detail today, but there's a clear illustration here of how Cleanaway is developing infrastructure to meet the growing circular economy, which is something that is core for us, but certainly something that our key customers are looking for as well. There are further opportunities that we're exploring for HDPE, PP and LDPE palletising. Our Laverton site is perfectly suited to the addition of this new purpose-built capability, and certainly places us strategically in a very strong position to leverage the volumes that are coming into that facility. So very much looking forward to further developing that capability. We're also looking at glass beneficiation as a solution for our recovery glass, and it'd be fair to say, glass has been a challenge in the market for some time, and we've recognised that there's an opportunity for us to move down the value chain here. We're going to have plenty of feedstock from our Victorian MRFs and can be supplemented with feedstock from New South Wales Container Deposit Scheme, as well as hopefully Victorian Container Deposit Scheme once it's established. This will provide us with a very strong circular economy solution for glass in the region that we can leverage. Again, just emphasising the theme there between the plastic palletisation capability and the glass beneficiation capability. It's all about how we're moving downstream to create manufacture-ready product and effectively close that loop in recycling, which is very important. So, in conclusion, I guess the acquisition and remediation of these material recovery sites and related infrastructure has created a complete solid waste services footprint for Cleanaway in Victoria. It is by far our most complete footprint of assets, and it's certainly we're going to use that as our blueprint for other states as we move forward. By creating this end-to-end customer solution, it's also created the opportunity for Cleanaway to pursue value chain extension opportunities that can further add value to our business, i.e. the palletisation and the beneficiation of glass. Having an end-to-end solution also means that as new waste policies are developed and implemented and value shifts across or within the value chain, we are well positioned to respond and capture the value opportunities based on where the government might go with their various policies and the like. So all in all, it's 12 months on and the facility is running well, and we've certainly got now a much deeper understanding of the capability and how we're going to optimise that going forward. I'm really excited about it. It's probably, for me, one of the best assets that we've got around the country, and I'm genuinely excited about the next stage in terms of plastic palletisation and glass beneficiation. So with that in mind, Vic, I'll hand back to you, and perhaps we can, I don't know whether you want to take questions now or at the end, but I'll hand back to you for now.
Thank you, Mark. I think we'll move forward to data analytics. So Alex, you want to introduce yourself and then we start, please?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alex Smith. I am the head of commercial here at Cleanaway. I've been with the company for 3.5 years now.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. There are just a couple of slides I want to talk about the process automation part. So we have, as you have heard me say a couple of times before, we have broken down what we call a digitization process into kind of 4 things, which is basically the process automation, which is call to cash process being automated as much as practically possible, which obviously would need a new way of working, which is the process changes. So it's not as simple as just the IT thing, which will lead to a significant improvement to customer and employee experience, which I'll talk to in a minute. And then the data analytics piece, how do you actually harvest the rich data we have had as a company dealing with millions of customers every year, which Alex is going to talk about. So fundamentally, the data and data and analytics, or let's call it digitization and automation project, is now on. But I want to also make sure this is not an IT project. We are not running this as an IT project, but this is absolutely a business project. So I just want to make sure we clear that. And let me talk about the first piece, which is the process automation. So if you go to next page, Richie, please. In our world, the way we see the world today is that, frankly, from the time a customer calls to the time the customer gets the invoice, you could practically do that everything now digitally, in a sense that we see a world where it's practically instantaneous, apart from the fact that truck takes some time to go and pick up the lift and everything, to invoice it can all be done. So let's think about that for a minute. We see a world where there's a self-service bookings. We see a world where there's an issue with service, and a lot of them issues are generally around invoicing, etc., which can be self-remedied. We see a world where invoicing is all electronically done. We see a world where lift is happening at 2 o'clock and the invoice is getting in the inbox of a customer at 2:30 with no paperwork in hand. We see a world where a customer is calling a call center to pick up in the middle of the day, and the routes get dynamically routed for the truck to go there without affecting the route density. That's the world we see ourselves in future, which has a significant value creation. So as I said, two pieces on a process automation side, a significant customer benefit, which I'll go next page, Richie, and then there's an employee benefit. So this is just a simple experience of a customer journey, right? You can start from, in an absence of a lack of digital footprint or digital interaction, every point has a human interaction. I'm looking for a provider, I want a quote. I set up a service, I want to schedule something, I want to pay my bill, I want to encounter a problem, I want to provide a feedback. Each one of them is what I call a moments of truth, as we call it, from call to cash process. And in each one of them, we are interacting with human beings. Now, nothing wrong with that, but fundamentally, we believe that all of that interaction can be very smoothly done electronically while still having an access to a human Cleanaway employee at any given time. So we absolutely see that. It's efficient and it's safe and it's very effective, cost-effective, plus significantly improved customer service. And if you convert that into employee experience, if you go to the next one, right now, everything we do a run sheet. Our employees, 400 admin people are working in the afternoon doing a driver per plan. Driver is lifting the waste. Now, obviously, that needs to get done. Driver is notifying the status. Then if there's a maintenance issue, in municipalities, there's an issue which we have to report back. All of that we see in a world where it can be handled. So, and the good thing is technology exists. And the other good thing is we are not talking about a SAP change or an IT change or an ERP change. In a modern world, and as they call interfaces, you can work that through together. It is about having a seamless information flow between various systems. So please don't, I want to reiterate it again, none of that is an IT project. There's an IT element to it, but we're not talking about a SAP or an IT or ERP change. We have an ERP, it's just about making sure the data flows. And we've got the next one, Richie. This is just a typical example of what we've been able to do in Muni over the last couple of years, right? And I absolutely believe, and we believe as a company, that significant amount of success we've had in a municipal sector over the last 2-3 years, I guess, is because of this digital interaction we have given to the customer. So, for example, the Muni trucks nowadays have multiple cameras all around them. There's a customer self-service portal. You can go yourself, or Muni customer service can go in themselves and check out how the run went. If the bin was there, if the bin was not there, you can schedule a hard waste pickup through that. In old days, a resident would bring a council, and council will bring a Cleanaway employees. That will go through a customer service officer. That will then go through a truck driver or go to an operations supervisor. Now, in this world, a Muni person does not even have to interact to a Cleanaway. It is all electronically. They can do the tracking. If you call a Muni saying, I'm waiting here for hard waste, because no, sir, the truck is around 15 minutes away, like an Uber. Dispute tracking is there's a live chat. If you get into a truck of a Muni truck driver, frankly, it looks like a pallet of a jumbo jet with so many screens, and we are taking picture of every bin we pick up. And look at the coverage at the bottom of it. We have 1.45 million addresses serviced across Australia, and 42% of council deployed with 7 more in the next 6 months. So significant advantage, competitive advantage we have created in the municipal segment, which has given us a lot of confidence. We know that if we can bring this to C&I fully, liquid, hazardous, health, etc., there is a significant benefit attached to that. So just a live example of that. I'm going to pass on to the second piece of digitalization. So I just talked about process automation, and Alex is going to talk about the data analytics piece. Alex?
Thanks, Vic. Where the process automation that Vic has spoken about is more focused on the customer experience, data analytics represents a margin expansion opportunity for Cleanaway. Our data analytics framework is broken up into value drivers and enablers. The enablers are the building blocks for our data analytics program. They're the tools and assets that will unlock the margin expansion opportunities within our collections and post-collections businesses. The key deliverables of our enablers are to simplify our data infrastructure, build our internal data and analytics capability, enrich our existing data, and develop and deploy advanced analytics into the business. Cleanaway has a rich, complex data infrastructure, and if mined properly over time, can be significantly accretive to the company. The value drivers are our discrete programs of work that deliver margin expansion opportunity within the business. And over the coming slides, I'll expand on these value drivers and enablers and provide an update as to where we're currently up to. Next slide. One of the key enablers for our data analytics program is the investment in our in-house capability and talent. We've begun that investment by hiring a data analytics team comprising of a head of data analytics, data engineers, data scientists, data analysts, and a product owner. As Vic mentioned before, our data analytics team is separate from our IT team, and this is a really important distinction, as data analytics is not an IT program, it sits within our commercial structure. Our head of data analytics has over 15 years experience in the data world, having worked both domestically and internationally across a range of different industries. Next slide. The first value driver that we're going to have a look at is price optimization. So price optimization is the identification of revenue leakage combined with smarter pricing decisions and opportunities through some of our advanced analytics. Price optimization covers opportunities such as customer-specific or targeted pricing based on key customer data points such as geography, industry size, industry type, size of business, targeted uprates to help ensure that our price adjustments will stick and our churn as a result of price adjustments is reduced, and willingness to pay modelling, which is identifying specific opportunities based on the price elasticity of customers within a particular industry or segment. One of the first pilot programs that's commenced is looking at understanding pricing and profitability at a bin level. This is something we've achieved recently. Our bin profitability model will take into account the GPS coordinates of our trucks, our disposal locations, and the time spent at each bin to give an accurate picture of how profitable a particular bin is. So on the graph on the right that you can see, it's an example of how we'll be segmenting our customers based on their gross profit percentage and their direct variable cost to serve. Each dot on that scatter plot will represent a bin for a particular customer in a particular region. The quadrant that the customer sits in determines the intervention strategy needed to improve or maintain profitability and margin. For example, bins in quadrant A have a high gross profit and a low direct variable cost to serve, so they're identified as our most profitable customers. Customers in quadrant C have a high gross profit but also a high direct variable cost to serve, indicating there's a potential opportunity, operational opportunity to address. Next slide. The second value driver is churn management and sales effectiveness. So in this slide, we've outlined the customer life cycle and the data analytics opportunities that exist at each stage within that life cycle. At the acquisition and upsell or cross-sell stages of the life cycle, data mining provides opportunities to acquire and build a tailored lead generation and propensity to buy model. The lead generation engine drives margin expansion through the infill of low-density routes and identification of highly desirable customers. Past these two stages, data and analytics provides opportunities to retain and grow our existing customer base through our propensity to churn modelling and save desk. Third value driver we'll look at is route optimization. So by improving the density of our routes, the cost to serve for each bin we pick up decreases. This expands our margin for the customer and also for that particular route. It also allows us to offer customers on existing routes very competitive pricing. We've conducted a trial, we know there's an opportunity, and we are in the process of finalising a larger scale route optimisation program across the business. So in the example on the right, you can see 3 routes before and after they've been optimised. As we discussed in the prior slide, the acquisition of new customers increases our density, which requires constant or dynamic route optimisation. An optimised route not only reduces the drive time and costs that are associated with that route, as you can see in the example, but also reduces driver fatigue, it improves safety and provides an opportunity for us to pick up more customers on that particular route or within a region. The data and analytics and digitisation program will be staged over the next 3 years. The first stage will be selective use cases with specific branches for pricing opportunities and dynamic route optimisation, along with the digitisation of some of our call-to-cash processes. Stages 2 and 3 will see us develop more advanced analytics such as dynamic sell pricing, predictive churn, to unlock additional value in the business. In these stages, we'll also continue to scale our call-to-cash processes, which will drive further efficiency. Again, we are confident the combination of the digitisation and data analytics will deliver margin expansion that will assist us in meeting the commitments we made on our medium-term margin goals. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Vic, Alex, and Mark. We'll now open the line for questions. So again, you can use the raise your hand function or just send messages through the chat box and we'll take them from there. See if I can get the technology to work and find. We have a couple of questions. So the first one is, what is the potential EBITDA uplift going from 200,000 tonnes to 250,000 tonnes at the VCRR facilities?
Well, I think as you probably know the answer to that, we probably would not give you individual EBITDAs by ton or by site, I guess. But I mean, the plants have the total capacity of these plants when we took over, we believe is around close to 300,000 tons. We do believe they can go up to 250, but we also believe, Mark and I and the local operation management believe that we need to absolutely nail down them fully efficient at 200,000 tons and then take them up to 250. So we absolutely intend to take it to 250, but we absolutely also want to make sure that we are not creating an operational risk. The problem is these are municipal resource recovery sites. Unlike a CNI or a CND resource recovery site, you can shut it down for 2 days while you're piling up waste. In a municipal waste, it is a genuine every single day, 24-hour trucks coming in. And we never want to be in a position where old SKM was, that it got out of control because they were running so hard that it broke down every time. So we probably would not share the EBITDA, but I guess the idea is we will get to 250 at some point.
Okay, we'll go to the line. We got, I'll just unmute. So first question is from Cindy Zhao at Morgan Stanley.
Hi guys, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Just a couple from me. So for the slide 19, there's a clear diagram showing the process of glass recycling. And just wondering, so what do you think of the future Victoria CDS scheme and also the 4-bin system in Victoria will impact on the MRF volume in the future? Will there be more competition of the inbound materials?
Sure. Mark, join in once I've answered. If there is anything I'll miss, Mark, please join in. But 2 things, Cindy. One, we've always publicly said what idea look like for Cleanaway, or for actually, frankly, circular economy, is that every household in the country and every muni should have 4 bins. And frankly, I'll add to that a common, consistent color system. But that's a separate issue because that has to do with the contamination which Mark was talking about. We absolutely see the world that there's a 4-bin home and there's a container deposit scheme next to it. Whatever kind of container deposit scheme it has, it will not be able to take all of the glass. You know, like New South Wales, CDS does not take wine glass. Wine comes through your normal MRFs. So we see a world where glass is going to come through both sources, and container deposit scheme glass or material is generally a lot more purer. So those can still come in a sorting station next to our existing MRF. Remember, we have those properties and we have spaces, so that glass can come there. You're sorting glass from existing MRFs, and then that going into glass beneficiation. So that's the world we absolutely see. I mean, it doesn't really matter where it comes from. Ultimately, it still needs to come to a pile somewhere, which needs to get processed to glass beneficiation. Now, ideally, of course, we would love to win the container deposit scheme in Victoria. So the world for us ideally looks like is we're running a container deposit scheme. Every household has a 4-bin, which reduces the contamination coming into the MRF, and you are now collecting glass on both ends, taking it through glass beneficiation, and then going into a glass rebuild. So that's what we hope, and that's what we are working towards. Mark, I don't know if you want to add something here, man.
No, I think that's a really good description, Vic. And I mean, we've seen that in New South Wales today anyway. So I think the reality is having a glass beneficiation and getting the source from both CDS and MRFs is absolutely game plan, no question.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Just in terms of the data analytics, do you think the program or the project will result in the customer having longer tenure contracts in the future with these programs rolling out?
Yeah, and as Alex mentioned, Cindy, one of the projects he talked about is about churn management. I mean, and you know, I've talked about churn for a long time. Frankly, in any utility sector, that is a critical piece, because longer we keep the customer, better margin it is, because you applied CPI over the period of time. They're part of a routing system which is well set. There's a genuine reduction in the interaction errors compared to a newer customer. So part of that, if you look, I think one of the slides, Alex, is slide 30, actually talks about data analytics, usage of data analytics for churn management. Now, so far we have done churn management through customer service and having a save desk. That will carry on, by the way. But what it does is, what we understand, that data analytics can give you what we call a churn propensity quotient. I mean, it's a mouthful, but fundamentally, statistically, can give you some signal of which kind of customer, based on the interaction we've had, is most likely to churn. And if you can know, imagine a future where if you can know 9 months in advance that there's a high risk of customer A churning, you can put all the other efforts, rather than having a save desk, which we have right now, which reacts when the customer has already gone there. So it goes from almost a preventative maintenance of save desk, which we are doing successfully, to a predictive maintenance of churn management. I think that's what we're trying to do. Alex?
Absolutely, Nick. I think that's now it.
It is great. And do you think the data analytics will give some large, like national accounts or municipal customer better, like clear data clarity in terms of what's their waste recycling rate, or what's their waste composition, to help them to meet their sustainability goals?
Yeah, absolutely, Cindy. We already provide our national accounts with varying levels of reporting in terms of their diversion and in terms of the type of waste they're consuming. But as you mentioned, the data analytics portion will only enhance that further and give customers much more interaction in terms of the reports that we're providing at the moment.
Yes, great. Maybe the last one from me. So how do you align the time of implementing the data analytics project with your EBITDA margin targets in the medium term?
Well, I mean, you know, the medium term EBITDA targets are out in public domain, Cindy. So, and I mean, we'll carry on working on those. We want to achieve those. And obviously, data, the reason of presenting is that I want you to all to know that underpinning that target is a whole work plan. I mean, there's a work plan of footprint build, there's a work plan of internalization. Obviously, the GDP grows, it helps our operating leverage. And as we come out of the COVID, that's all upside and positive. And of course, this is on top of that. Now, whether it's too early for me to say, Cindy, that this will take it further. But the idea here is to give you all a comfort. There's a whole bunch of underpinning projects and plans working to get us to those targets. And if we overreach them, then we overreach them.
Yeah, that's great.
Next one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy.
Next question is from Jake Kakarnis.
Hi guys, hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yeah, no worries, Jake. Thank you.
Very good, thanks guys. First one's just for Mark, please. You mentioned that you cleared through some of that inventory that was sitting in SKM when you picked up the asset. Can you just let us know who paid for the cost of the disposal of that inventory and when was it occurred?
Maybe you might be on mute, Mark.
I'm across some of that.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Yeah, so that was all sorted out both mainly through the receivership side of things and also posted. So all last year and part of our cost of integrating those assets.
Okay, great. Maybe this one's then more relevant for Mark. So if we think about the quality of the waste stream that's potentially coming out of either the CDS or better curbside collection. Can you just talk to how important the development of end markets is? It seems as though upstream's starting to sort itself. Some of the government initiatives obviously will start to work, but what's the role that industry and maybe procurement and throughput plays from here, Mark?
Yeah, so I mean, offtake markets is obviously a very, very important issue for us, and that's kind of why we're moving down the value chain in terms of palletisation and beneficiation, because, you know, with the coag bans and the like coming in, it's going to be hard to move that sort of unprocessed waste, if you like, offshore. But moving down the value chain creates and opens up, in fact, the opportunities there, Jake, for us. And you know, clearly, you know, we'd love to have more manufacturing in Australia, but if we can't have that, then having the product manufactured ready is more important for us to be able to ship that product. So you know, and that's kind of why we need to move down the value chain, is to create it in a manufacture ready state.
Not a drama, and I assume that
question, Jack.
Yes, I assume that then gets around some of these waste export bans, because there is a value-added process to that. I just had one for Alex and Vic then. You've spoken about digitisation. I think the best example that you've had on route optimisation was what happened in the fourth quarter as we moved through the COVID lockdowns. Given that that's a distinct period, understanding that there's a lot going on there, can you talk to some of the early savings that you had on route optimisation and maybe even better rostering, so less overtime?
Yeah, so I'll answer from a COVID perspective, and then you can talk about what's moving from there. So I think I'll be honest with you, the work we did on route optimization and parking of trucks, as Alex says to me all the time, that was a blunt instrument rather than a sophisticated instrument, which Alex would like to systemize across the company, which I totally understand. I believe in that, what he's trying to say. So COVID was such a sudden experience, Jake. We had to do what we had to do to manage the cost. The idea, what good looks like in the slide which Alex mentioned, let's jump in if I've got it wrong, in the dynamic routing part, is we want to be able to do that as a matter of course. We want to live in a world where COVID or no COVID, depending on the set of circumstances. I mean, it's a fascinating example of what has happened in Sydney today. Northern beaches have closed down. Now, in today, Mark and his team will know exactly what to do. They will go and manage what can be picked up. We want to live in a world where that can all be done through data analytics, etc. Would that be, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a change from a reactive approach to a proactive approach, and we should be in a position where we are proactively optimizing our routes and looking for opportunities within those routes to either infill or to do them in a more efficient way.
Correct. And just so add, Alex, what he's talking about infilling is, now think about that for a minute. When COVID goes down, let's say Victoria is a good example, and those now trucks comes back online, Jay, what we want to be thinking about is that if a truck goes up and down St. Kilda Road and we have 20 accounts there, our sales effectiveness should be, knowing very well how competitors have got rid of the salespeople and everything, we should be immediately jumping on those accounts based on that round to infilling those accounts. And you combine that with the pricing, gross profit, variable cost sale analysis, you can actually pinpoint at what price it is marginal and what price is effective a customer to be picked up on that ride. That is the magic, and you don't have to spend 50 days doing that. You can do that in real world at a real quick time, and a sales guy can give a price right there and then. So the real magic of all of this is about the speed, isn't it, Alex? I mean, that's what you...
Absolutely.
It's what you can get at the finger, basically. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can we just address quickly the overtime component as well of what you could get from digitisation and what that could mean from a cost perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what we said. Think about the world, man, and I'll give you a real example. A truck is picking up 40 customers. The route is already set up because somebody has given a paperwork to the driver about next day. At 2 o'clock, a customer rings. Listen, I was thinking of you coming back tomorrow. Why don't you come today? I'm going to close my shop. That now, imagine the activities what happened. The call goes in to the driver, a customer service, then the operation supervisor, then the driver. And driver now has to do all of that. And everything he's doing now, he's spending time, which is adding to the overtime. What the world looks like is call comes in, automatically driver's route is optimized in his or her iPad. And if he's falling into overtime, we can live a world where last two accounts can go to some other truck driver who's close by, effectively managing the overtime of both. Or you could have a signal to the last two saying, we're going to pick that tomorrow morning. So in that case, you have not increased the fatigue for the customer, for the driver. Stress has gone down. You're able to service the customer exactly when they want it. Plus, you haven't paid for overtime for that exactly that time, because all happening electronically, and driver is not getting fatigued because you got to park on the side of the dial now, right on the side of the paper. So that I mean, I don't know any other example, Alex, you can think of.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think in the route optimization example, we spoke about the improvement from a cost perspective, which is obviously across our labour and our fleet, and then also the benefits we get from infilling a particular route, which is obviously a further reduction in cost and an increase in the number of customers we can fit on a particular route.
Okay, hope that answers, Jake.
Lost Jake. Our next question is from Russell Gill.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, Russell. No worries, man.
Okay, great. Just a couple of questions on the SKM assets and the market structure. So originally SKM was doing 300,000 tonnes, 300,000 tonnes. Was a lot of that just being stockpiled on site, or where's the delta of those 100,000 tonnes have gone? Is it gone to competing facilities or landfill? Just a thought around that 100,000 tonne delta today.
Yeah, so we don't know, to be honest with you, Russell. Nobody knows how much they were doing, frankly, because the numbers and the stats were not right. We know their contracts which they had signed was more than 240, 250. How much was coming in and how much was getting piled up and how much was actually going to landfill, there is actually no data to prove that. Right. Having said that, when we said to the market we will only take 200,000 tons, around 200,000 tons, and we had done the match between Muni and CNI and everything, we believe some of the rest have then gone to other competitors in the local market, and I know that they are struggling with that. Hence, so we feel confident that we can raise our bar to 250, but we want to do it at the right price at the right time. So, but I can't tell you the numbers. The contracts or understanding we saw was definitely more than 250, but I can't tell you where they were getting. It was all piled up, frankly, when we guys Mark showed you the pictures.
Okay, and then just a question on, I guess, market structure of that recycling part of the marketplace post a CDS scheme world. One, do you have a view on where you think the CDS scheme will go? And clearly the prized assets the SKM have is the license and the location of where the facilities are, rather than, I guess, the kit on site. But in a CDS scheme where you see volume shift from, I guess, curbside through a different mechanism, is there a risk that those prized assets due through the CDS scheme become less prized because there's more capacity coming in marketplace by the potential winner of the CDS scheme? So just possibly, I know it's a long-winded question, but your thoughts on the model that Victoria will possibly go down, and two, whether the nature of the licenses you have with SKM, I guess, increase in value because you could win the contract, or decrease in value because somebody else might and gets licenses to process volume.
Yeah, so I got your question, Russell, so let me explain. First of all, you're spot on. The value of these assets is the licenses they bring and the strategic location of those. So if some of you who know Melbourne very well, Coolru is up on the north side, and Hallam is on the east side, and you've got Leverton on the west side. I mean, that's quite magical to have those, and Geelong obviously on the far west side. Now, you are absolutely right. In an effective CDS scheme, oh, we just lost the light here, guys. In the effective CDS scheme, well, I'll keep speaking. We're having some light issues here. In the effective CDS scheme, yes, you're absolutely right. Some volume will come out on the curbs, our bins at home. But the idea is it comes out, it's in a much better shape. It also actually improved the contamination level in the bins at home. We've seen that in New South Wales, clearly. And that will help from that perspective. And then the position of the assets are such, you're right, the kit today You could argue, well, in the CDS world, that kit probably is not used for a CDS material, but it still has a value. The site has a value because that material needs to go somewhere and get one funnel sorted, baled, and probably crushed or done something. So the glass beneficiation plant and the plastic pelletizer, the HDP plastic pelletizer plant we are thinking at the SKM sites. We are thinking of making Kulru MRF on the north vessel into a pure transfer station. So just see a world, let me give you a picture of the world in Victoria. We see a world where Kulru up north will be a pure MRF with a pure transfer station, I think, which Mark mentioned, and possibly a glass beneficiation plant next to it. We see a Leverton plant continue to be a pure transfer station. It already has a plastic recycling facility because still plastic is going to come through boxes and all that stuff through house bins. And we're trying to create a HDP, a plastic pelletizing plant, which will come out of MRF. But there's enough space to put a sorting station like we have an Eastern Creek sorting station in Melbourne, in Sydney, which you consolidate the material and take it further down the value chain. So it's the location is important. They are absolutely critical for us to demonstrate to Victorian state that we not only have assets, but also downstream investments. The first question we had was what kind of CDS scheme Victoria would have. Their initial paper has come out that will be network type, which is similar to New South Wales type. And we have made no qualms about the fact that that's what we want. So we're very pleased in participating at this point, but things can still change, as you can appreciate. So that's the world we see ourselves in. So I'm not fussed around. It's a good thing because contamination improves, and we have a prized asset in a phenomenally good location where you increase the value chain as well as then take it downstream, and you save logistic costs and give a lot of value. So I hope that answers the question. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I guess the nuance of the question was just, I mean, the type of CDS scheme that goes in Victoria could, I guess, change the market structure, particularly around your assets. But I guess, if in summary what you're saying is you've got these assets, you can sort of rejig the network to get the most use out of those assets, whether it be a pute transfer station, et cetera, depending on what that scheme looks like. Is that the best way of interpreting it?
Spot on. Absolutely spot on. And whatever scheme happens, though, man, the material has to go somewhere. Huh? Whatever scheme happens, whether it's a whisper type scheme, you will still need sorting stations. You will still need a consolidating point. You will still need places where it have to go downstream, as I think Jake was referring to before, because of National Transport. And if you already have a significantly assets with licenses to do all that stuff, all you have to do is get it up next phase and off you go. So that's what I'm saying.
And the very final question, just on the data analytics. If we refer to slide 26, my interpretation of your data analytics piece is there's a customer facing, which so benefits for the customer, and it also, large operational internal improvements that were probably done, with an Excel spreadsheet rather than sort of its systematic process. Just on slide 26, when you look at the customer facing, I presume a lot of this IT is basically outsourced and trackers put on trucks is outsourced. What's the competitive advantage in this stuff from a council's perspective? Is it a high cost for, I just want to get a feel, because a lot of your competitors are, I guess, more junior localized companies. And if this is a large prohibitive cost, do the barriers to entry to winning contracts go up, certainly from a customer facing? Or just get a feel for obviously we can see what the benefits of the customers are, but whether that actually is a high, I guess, cost for you guys from a customer facing standpoint.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's almost like Internet of Things, Russell. Actually, all the technology exists. The magic pudding is putting them together into an integrated system, and that's what our team has done. The GPS system exists, the navigation system exists, the trucking cameras exist, and all of that exists. It is about connecting all of that into one integrated system and then presenting it to a customer in a way that he or she can see value. Now, of course, it costs money. Absolutely, it costs money. And wherever possible, rightfully so, we charge that as chips on top to make basic burgers. Well, there's a lifting cost, but on top of that, that's the service we are providing, which gives you assurance, which gives you an opportunity to educate the customers, and which will give you a live experience. And then we negotiated our way from there. So that's one. Having said that, I want you to know Munich, as you know very well, a lot of you know, they're all major players. There's not a small player in Munich, might be in regional towns. But they can't provide this service for both. They don't have the scale to replicate the technology. Neither they have the, I would call it, the way about doing it. I mean, I say that with due respect to them. So it definitely creates a competitive advantage, and we're seeing that. I mean, you've all seen the kind of muni contracts we have won over the last couple of years, and I absolutely credit Cleanaway for that.
Great, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Next question is from Robin Liu.
Hi, morning, everyone. Thanks for taking my questions. Just got a few here. So starting off with Mark, I see that you are looking at opportunities in C&I potentially for those for the business there. Can you expand on when you are targeting to expand into C&I and probably the mix you are hoping to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, we already have a couple of C&I customers coming through, but as Vic mentioned, our priority is to get the facility humming first before we go too expansive on that. But we already have a couple of commercial customers going through there, just to be clear. What we are talking about is sort of taking it from that 200 to 250, and I'd imagine that at the moment we're sort of focused really on Christmas peak periods with I think there's a substantial number of Australians remain home this year because of the COVID travel ban, so we're really just trying to get to the other side of Christmas, and then we'll regroup. But I'd imagine that we'll start to see that sort of Q4 to Q1 next year. We'll start to head more into some of the commercial space. In terms of the mix, it'll still be predominantly municipal, but looking to expand in that commercial space to get up to that 250,000 tonne.
So just to clarify, you meant Q4 2021 and then Q1 22.
Correct. Yeah, that's where we'll start to get more into the commercial side. But again, I want to get through Christmas with that's our peak period, and I just want to have a really stable Christmas period with the municipal councils, and then look to poke our head up and get more, into the commercial space Q4 21 and Q1 22.
Great, thank you. And then just my next two are on the digital aspects. So I think on slide 26, those contracts that you have named out that you've won, I just want to get a sense on how much do you reckon those contract wins related to your digital offering versus your overall waste infrastructure in those areas and possibly pricing?
Yeah, I mean, Robin, it's very difficult to, so I think when Muni looks at a Muni contract, whether it's a contract extension or re-sign of a new contract, or they're going to market on open contract, there are 4 or 5 categories they look for. One, companies' balance sheet, companies' logistics experience, and companies' experience in dealing with municipalities. Then they look at the logistics solution, cleverness in that, nothing to do with Cleanaway, just the logistics solution. How do they do that in a new tenement? Remember, last time Muni might have gone to the market would be 10 years ago. So the fundamental tenements and the council have changed. And based on that, how clever the solution has been put forward. There's obviously price per tenement, of course, and the technology. So those are the 4 or 5 things they look at. And not every Muni put out in the public domain, but most of the Muni puts out the wins in a public domain because they are council-backed decisions. And you would say over the last 2 years, we would be one on possibly more category. I always get nervous when we are 1 on price, but thank God we're always either 2 or 3 on price. But we are absolutely 1 on experience, customer service experience. They obviously check our references. They check our logistics solutions. They check our technology, which we always get pretty high marks on. Now, I can't tell you what portion they give 20% to this, 30% to the. I just feel that in the last 2.5 years since we have introduced Cleanaway, our success rate of munis have gone through the roof. So I do believe there's an element to that. I can't tell you the exact ratio, of course. And having said that, we've generally improved our customer service, our branding, our logistics, all of that has improved. But I do think Cleanaway has a big role to play.
Thanks. And my last one just relates to, so we've been seeing that more successful digital platforms have been able to integrate with customer systems. Just wondering if this is what you're envisioning in your 3-year I guess, 3-year journey or digital plan as well, or have I just missed something today?
No, you don't. Alex, jump in, Matt. I think we definitely see a world. The big national accounts, these are big accounts like Coles, Woolies, etc. They put out a sustainability targets, and as Alex was saying before, they look for a lot of line of sight and transparency around the diversions, which basically means when you pick up the paints and they divert and all that stuff, the data has to come back in. We absolutely see a world, Alex. Some of them are already asking us, they rather than giving us a manual report, why don't you link them into our systems so they can check it themselves, exactly like how Munis does it. Alex, you want to give
Yeah, we absolutely do that for some of our large national customers now. So we already do link into some of their systems. Obviously, as we expand our data and digitisation journey, we want to be in a position where we can provide more to our customers and more interactive opportunities for them to have a look at the type of waste that they're consuming, and also the diversion and where their waste is actually going as well. So I guess to answer your question, yes, we currently do some of it already. We will look to do more of it as the digitisation program rolls out.
Okay, we're a bit over time, but we'll take a final question from Scott Ryle.
Thank you very much. Mine will hopefully be very quick. The first one, in terms of looking at the downstream markets, which waste/resource stream do you think most is in need of Cleanaway's help in terms of moving towards circularity, please?
Plastic.
Yeah, that's a big category. Any particular? I mean, you mentioned all the different plastic streams in your presentation. Is there one you'd highlight that's particularly problematic?
Yeah, I think PET we have already invested. As you know, we're doing an Albury-Wodonga plant which take about 1 billion plastic. I think HDP and PP remains struggle because they come in a mixed range and with a lot of colors and everything. So I think that remains an issue. And plus, as I think Robin was mentioning before, rightfully, they come through the MRF system. They will never come through your CDS system. So you complicate colors, size, different caps, contamination, and sizes. That becomes a complexity, frankly. And I'm going into too much engineering detail here, but just so because we've talked about that so much in the organization, we are aware of it. I think the laminate and films, which is the PP piece, is a complexity. So we are absolutely doing a lot of work with the governments to standardize on what does that mean and actually inform the public about which material goes where. So I think that's an issue. Plastic also has a sentimental and emotional content attached to it. I think glass can be solved. We know glass can be solved. I think we know OCC cardboard can be solved. I think mixed paper remains a question mark. And I know there is some work going on there, so park that. I think plastic has an emotional, social component to it. It has the potential of a circular economy because it can be converted into plastic product through education. And I think generally believe, considering our MRF, CDS schemes, Muni contract, I think we can generally we can create value for our shareholders and genuinely be truthful to our vision of sustainable future by helping the society. I absolutely believe that. And it can be profitable for us as well. So we definitely want to do that.
Okay, great. That's a good answer. And then the second one, if you look at your data analytics, which has had a lot of questions, if you had to pick where you get the greatest return from the investments you've made, would it be volume, yield, or cost? I know it's going to be a combination of all three, but where do you think you get the most bang for buck?
Alex, you go and then we'll see if we're aligned on this one. That's an interesting question, Scott. Alex, which one do you reckon?
Well, Scott, as you mentioned, I think it is a combination of all of them. And if you look at some of the opportunities we look at from a route density perspective, that is a perfect example of where we will see efficiencies across all three of those categories. Mm-hmm. At the moment, we've probably be looking more on triggers around yield to begin with. And the reason that we've done that is we have a pricing team, an established pricing team in the business that's focused on looking at pricing opportunities. So naturally, we've been able to utilise kind of our existing experience to focus on yield. So I'd say probably yield at the moment, but that will evolve as our data analytics journey matures and as digitisation journey matures as well.
So just to add to Alex's comment, I think that's spot on. I think the difference between three is yield and cost goes straight to the bottom line. Volume gets multiplied by cost to it. So from an EBITDA perspective, yield and cost is a straight benefit bottom line. Having said that, I think without a volume, you won't have yield and cost. So it's kind of all three, Mike, but as I said, two of them go straight to the bottom line. The third goes to the cost structure to get to 22%, 24% EBITDA. So that's how it works.
Yep. Okay, and then that's all my questions. But I would love it if you continue to disclose all those staff metrics. Thank you for disclosing them today.
This is the people and culture metrics?
Yes, correct.
No worries. We did that a couple of weeks ago as well, man, and we intend to, when we come to the market half year, the people and culture will now become a standard slide in our pack moving forward. So be assured from that, okay? Please.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us this morning, and thanks for all your support throughout the year. From all of us at Cleanaway, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you all. Best wishes. Take care.
Thank you.